Game 69, Burnley versus Brentford on the 16th of March 2024. Title: Generalisation. I have woken up tired. Sounds good, doesn't it? Yes, a wee bit yawny and a little later than usual. I have slept in as my wife had gone down early with the dog and not returned. She did return, but only to say that time was kicking on and we couldn't now go for our usual soiree at Costa. I then am deposited at the station and I wander over the bridge, down the steps, and about halfway down I realise the knee is not in good shape already. 10,000 steps a day? I might have managed 80, and I now know I'm in for a long day. There are 6 carriages today and therefore I amble sedately to the far end of the platform to watch the waiting people stare up at me from the other end. The train arrives, drifts past them, and I get on unfettered by other human beings. I sit in my normal position on a 2-seater with no window. I settle in, and as the journey starts, I wonder just how many people buying suitcases will appear at Bicester Village. The answer is quite a few again. Still, sat alone, I pop in my earphones and start watching some YouTube how-to videos, mainly about using iPhones as cameras and the sort of rigs you need to capture great video and audio. After a while, I'm in pre-snooze staring mode, just gazing at the passing countryside through the window just in front of me. It was then that I noticed a reflection of a guy in the window staring at my reflection on the window the other way, and I suppose we caught sight of us both staring at each other. Awkward. I have my bag by my side and decide to rest my eyes. I wrap my hand through the handle just in case somebody or someone tries to whip it. My eyelids are drooping. I feel very close to the land of Nod when I remember when I sleep, I snore loudly with my sleep apnea. So now I try to fight the drooping eyelids. But fuck me, I really want to sleep. The motion of the carriage, the peaceful mindset, and an almost desperation to sleep. My mind, though, is actively encouraging sleep, but not for the right reasons. It knows I will erupt with one loud snore from my near asphyxiation to massive embarrassment, and my mind wants it to happen. I try sitting up instead of slouching, then altering my position altogether. I survive, awake until the voice says we're approaching our next stop. I sit bolt upright and gaze at the platform as it rolls by. It's busy. I grab my bag and place it on my lap, so if anyone wants to sit down instead of my bag being there, they are welcome. We are over halfway to Marylebone and we have standers already in the doorways. I look across the aisle and opposite me I have the opposite of myself. I sit on the inside and picked up my bag to allow somebody to sit down. Across the aisle it was a person who had placed their bag on the inside and sat on the aisle seat, making those who enter the carriage believe both seats had taken when doing a rear head facing count. Now, you might say that's just me being me, but believe me, it is a tried and trusted method used by many commuters. Anyway, we are in the tube type of end of our journey, where you name it, it stops there, just like a tube train. Once off, I go for a waz and then wander down to Baker Street Station. I feel jaded. I managed to stave off dozing on the train, but feel quite cream-crackered. I sit in the window of a coffee house just off Baker Street, people watching and reflecting without knowing, of course, how wealthy or not they were. It's a strange game because unless you go and ask them, you'll never know if you're right or wrong. On the other corner arrives a mother and a child. They stand on the corner and look in different directions. The mother, I'm assuming it is a mother, looks a little rattled whilst looking out for whomever. Then a man arrives. He looks mid-40s and the mother tries not to make eye contact whilst talking to him. She bends down and hugs and kisses her son, before rising while still talking to her son, before looking to the floor and saying something to the man, before she heads off in a different direction. That is what I saw. Was she a mum to the lad? I don't know. Was she delivering her boy to her estranged dad? I don't know. But what I did see was no eye contact between the grown-ups and a boy in the middle. Not happy, just stood quietly. I wonder what effect it is having on the boy now and going forward. It happens. Life happens. I wander off after a while with my coffee in my hand and travel via the Jubilee line to London Bridge. After more gazing at people in fashion, I get into the office and settle down to find pre-match angles. Burnley are rapidly moving back towards the Championship. It's a must-win game for them. And Brentford are in a run of poor form. And for the first time, I honestly feel Brentford could be involved in a relegation dogfight next season. It isn't rocket science on my part, just a feeling that the Brentford dream may be deflating a little. It's not a game for the top of the table boys to think about, but for me it has a certain amount of intrigue. Well, the pre-match team news is done and it's all about waiting for the signal to go. I posted a little on Twitter X, but also realised my game isn't as headlining for those outside of Burnley and Brentford to have much of a bearing, maybe worldwide. Once the game starts, in fairness, it has a nice intro to it, with a Brentford man sent off after just 9 minutes. Reguilon with a clumsy challenge on Vertino and the resultant penalty dispatched by Jakob Brun-Larsen. Now a 10 versus 11 match with a lot riding on it always keeps you interested, maybe because I have a sneaking underdog fetish. Burnley make it 2 before Ayer drags one back for Brentford to set up a tense finale, and Burnley win. I write and deliver my considered report before setting sail for home. On the tube across London, I look at people who don't converse, people glued to their phones and people staring at the floor, rocking from side to side or forward and backwards with the lurch of the carriage. Off at Baker Street, across to the Bakerloo line for one stop, up the steps and escalator before getting onto the Marylebone concourse. I check my phone to see what train my wife thinks I should get and duly head to the forward carriages. I grab a seat and wait patiently for the train to head home. I'm still tired. I'm still in discomfort. That's putting it mildly. I pop the headphones in and start watching YouTube videos again. There is nothing untoward rumbling in my cranium other than the eternal question, is this what it is? I don't dwell on it because it is. On getting in the car at Parkway, my wife says, do I want to go to a local hostelry? I have a dilemma. The simple answer is no, but as she's asked, she obviously wants to go. I tried to sound convincing by saying, yes, if that's what you'd like to do, then yes. Only for her to see through my pathetic charade of an answer to say, okay, we won't go. Knowing I'd replied falsely but honestly had left me pretty much dead in the water. So we head home now under a little bit of a fraught cloud. I really had better not say I want to go to bed right now, or I think she may just kill me. Here's hoping, eh? Game 70, the Oxford Spires versus Sheffield on the 21st of March 2024, titled Too Transparent. It's a Wednesday and it's the second home meeting for the newly created Oxford Spires Speedway team, who are riding in the top flight of British Speedway. Now today's a difficult one for me and I'll describe my side of the story. A couple of years ago, when Oxford Speedway and the Oxford Stadium opened up after years of abandonment, I went to the Speedway press launch as a freelancer for Jack FM. I did the prerequisite things of interviews etc. for the news bulletins, and I spent some time talking off air to some senior figures in the Speedway setup, live streaming. Now, I have spent a lot of my own cash on a streaming kit and thought with a lot of sides that the cheaters were racing against, it would be a good idea and would increase some revenue for the club. I tried to explain that it wasn't for the Oxford fans, but who would be interested were Edinburgh, Newcastle, Redcar and Glasgow fans who wouldn't travel down to Oxford on Thursday night that would benefit, not to mention Speedway fans who would just love to watch Speedway from wherever. I had been working on a project for local clubs of a no risk for some reward scheme. I understood there was a large broadcaster involved, but similar to say Sky and football, you are likely to see Liverpool or Manchester City live on your TV rather than Orient or Peterborough. Their blanket broadcast rights hinder fans rather than aid fans. Anyway, I have to say offering no risk for some reward didn't get the go ahead. There were nods of approval, but that was all. I'm still really surprised by the offer of help for no risk being turned down, and as of now I can do no more. He who laughs last, laughs loudest, as they say, and we forget those who cannot attend at all. And therein is another thought process altogether. Sometimes I am too transparent with my ideas. although some would argue they thought of them first. Who knows? Anyway, 2 years later, and another press day, and the self-same senior speedway official at the club has expended cash on live streaming equipment, team and setup. Well, it seems my idea didn't quite fall on deaf ears, did it? But tonight was a match that the live streaming team couldn't cover, so we offered, that is me and my cameraman Marco, to film and publish highlights. So, feeling a little uncomfortable, we pitched up. We went with a single camera and recorded a little Heath Robinson via a combined headset and mic onto an iPad, so therefore got separate audio feed for post-editing. Now I was going to have to do all 15 heats and then take the 3 best heats out for highlights. We were not getting paid for this, but as an exercise I needed to prove a point. As much as many people cannot get their heads around this, I am a paid professional commentator with a unique style and delivery, laced with dry humour to boot. And I feel live commentary is better than voiced highlights. You can feel the emotion, you're in the story of the match at the time, in the present as it unfolds. And I would use it for my news papper. I arrived at the stadium first and went to utilise the streamers' booths as they were not coming tonight. The first issue was camera angles. We needed, with a single camera, a single sweep of the whole track. Then I was approached with the lounge screens being hooked up to our feed. I said no, we're not doing that, and I hadn't been approached to do so. Still going up and down stairs, trying to locate a decent camera angle, there was a camera gantry where they filmed the dog racing from. I looked over the kit without touching it to see if we could remove it and film from there, when a young man appeared to film the racing for the lounges. Good and bad news all in one there. Marco then texted me to say he was in the bar area, and it was easier for me to go and grab him than trying to tell him where to go. After coming down several flights of stairs into the bar area, it was heaving with fans getting food and drink ahead of the clash. I find Marco and we head back up the stairs. Now, I haven't mentioned my knee yet, have I? Well, it was Fuchs, and I still had to stand for the meeting yet. Marco and myself started trying to sort out the best camera angle for a full lap sweep. This meant gaffer tape and plenty of it, and a precarious fixing for an expensive camera. We solved the issue and I start to sort out my paperwork. I had configured a speedway sheet from a production angle. What I needed to do was post-heat, take the stats for commentary and the description of each heat and its excitement value for post-production whilst being fluent with some hardish sounding names. Saying what you see for me as it unfolds is my forte, I hope. Building jeopardy and a storyline for each heat I enjoy, and finding a level for both aficionados and laypersons is key. It is fair to say there are a smattering of nerves for us both. Marco has never filmed speedway, but I have every confidence in him as I believe he is very good. I expect he would say he's competent, but he took to ice hockey like a duck to frozen water. For myself, I was heaping pressure on myself. Asking to produce on the night and notate was again a challenge. Not a major one, but one that needed doing, and in any other broadcast scenarios would be undertaken by maybe 2 others. Remember, I keep it frugal so I can offer no risk for some reward, and I still cannot get teams to get involved. We finally get to the Speedway match and the newly formed Spies versus last season's champions Sheffield, with none other than 3-time World Speedway champion Ty Woffington in their ranks. Just an aside here, I have some sympathy for Ty Woffington, 3-time world champion in a sport which is normally dominated by Europeans. And back in the day, having one British Speedway champion was astonishing, but this guy had won it 3 times, and a lot of people in the sports world hardly know his name, let alone recognise his achievements. The meeting ended up being a classic, with the Spies just overcoming the reigning champions. And then relax. Marco handed me the SD card with the heats on, and I picked up the paperwork that was going to help me in the post-production. We headed our different ways and I sat in the van. I couldn't move for a while. Not because of the traffic, but simply my knee was hurting in many places. Back, front right, top of the shin, down the shin, by the ankle, inside the thigh. You name a body part and it hurt. After about 5 minutes I summoned up the strength to depress the clutch and start moving. I was now okay to drive. Still in pain, but that is life now and has been so for some 10 years. I arrived home and flew up to the office to see on the big screen the camera work by Marco. Just a brief flick through, and as per normal he had done a good job. I returned to the lounge and chat to my wife while my beagle Rocco snores. After a while we decide that in the 999 channels available there isn't nothing on TV, so we head to bed. My mind is churning re-post production of the Speedway. Part of me wants to do it now, but I don't. A footnote for you. The following morning I start post-production. Use my notes to take the best 3 heats out. Find the corresponding video and audio footage of a commentator commentating on the said heats for audio and picture-in-picture purposes and for a little embellishment. Add some graphics and send to the media company for them to disperse. I then post it via the News Papa and my YouTube channel. Now, to date, the following analytics from YouTube shows that our coverage, as opposed to the streamer's coverage with an overlaid commentary by yours truly of other meetings, has been watched by 3 times more people than the other highlights of Speedway on our channel. You can read into that what you will, but even old sober sides here takes that as a boost. But you can't help some people or teams, can you?